r/ask Reddit. What is absolutely hilarious as long as it's not happening to you? Throwing something then having it bounce and hit you in the head. When I was little, me and my friend got in a fight. He tried to kick me, but I grabbed his leg. As he was struggling to get his leg back, his foot slipped out of his shoe into my hands. I threw the shoe at him, but he caught it. He threw the shoe back at me and then I caught it. Seeing as how throwing the shoe was ineffective, I just took the shoe and started beating him with it. We're still great buds and laugh about it even today. Not sure if this counts though. Waving back at someone whose wave wasn't intended for you. I literally just saw this happen. And yes, it was hilarious once I recovered from the second-hand embarrassment I felt for her. Just happened to me on a college campus. I'm in my 6th year and this young girl waved at me and I thought she knew me through my younger sister. Waved back. Got an awkward face and laugh from the girls when they saw me wave. So embarrassing. And then there are times where I don't wave at someone who is waving at me because I think they are waving at someone else. Looking somewhere else and then walking into a pole. I was in a car once and I saw a kid cycle face first into a pole. Had me going the entire day. Did that in middle school. I still remember the utter humiliation even though I don't think anyone saw. Watching someone try to teach a 100% incompetent co-worker a new skill. Only when it's not at your place of work, because at some point you would have to deal with said incompetence. Reminds me of a 4th year CompSci undergrad intern we had once at my work. He had probably 2 or 3 other mentors before landing at my desk and I got so sick and tired of his lazy bullshit I actually took him out of the office for a day to explain to him the facts of working life, like not being lazy, always learn new things, etc. He had a rich daddy so I'm sure he's nepotismed his way into a paycheck but good god, the stupid it burns. And instead of adding them up with a calculator, you can select the rows in the spreadsheet by clicking and dragging. Then clicking the sum button. Nah, I don't do clicking and dragging. It makes the squares look dirty, and it's not a sum if you're just adding them up. A sum is where you times numbers together. How is that a sum button? It's a funny. People who say shit like that in the age of smartphones are in for a lesson. Took me literally 3 seconds to new tab Google sum and shove it in their imaginary face. Was training an idiot last night. When somebody answers a question so wrong that you start to wonder if they're even in that class or they sat down in the wrong lecture. Or asks a wrong question. I had that guy in my engineering classes back in college. I once found him staring at a diagram of a step-down transformer and demanding that passers-by explain to him where the voltage goes. For the layman reading this, that's like filling a tall thin glass with water, dumping it out into a wide saucepan, and getting confused because you think water should always stay the same depth. This was somehow confusing him in the senior year of his electrical engineering degree, and it was not an isolated incident. Seems like with all the E's I know they're either really ducking smart or straight up retarded but good at tests or something. This guy was neither. I heard rumors he cheated his way through tests, and I'm pretty sure his professors were trying desperately to pass him to get him the duck out of their classroom. I've seen him reduce even the most patient teacher in the department to a ball of quivering rage. I sat in a test review with him once. I'd heard how he usually acted in test reviews, so when he walked in, I started counting the number of questions he asked. In the span of 60 minutes, dude asked the lecturer 92 questions, exactly 3 of which were relevant and semi-intelligent. When you confidently stride into lecture after the first reading assignment and the professor asks for questions and discussion, so a classmate raises his hand and asks something way out of left field that makes no sense. That poor guy is so lost, you think to yourself, as you look to the professor to see how he's going to react to such a stupid question. But the professor responds, excellent question. And the butterflies in your stomach slowly come alive as you realize it is in fact you who are the idiot with no comprehension of the subject matter. Oh no. I once answered in the wrong language and my massive brain fat didn't allow me to understand that what I was listening to was French, so I kept answering all their questions and replying to their comments in German. Solid 5 minutes of what the duck is going on. This happened to me abroad. A professor in Japan asked me a question in Japanese and I answered in Spanish. This son of a bitch replied back in Spanish. You should have kept changing languages until one of you broke. Calling your teacher mom or dad. Female, teacher, get called mom almost daily, and dad about once a month. I'm one of the only 2 male teachers at the school I work at. I get called mom or miss almost daily. I've never even been called dad. When I was at uni, my sensible friends were always called mum or dad sarcastically when they tried to actually stop us doing stupid stuff. I went home at Christmas and accidentally called my mum by my friend's name. Someone fighting off a spider web. You can't see it from far away, so they just look like they're spazzing out. 2 days ago I walked face first into a spider web in my front yard. That's always fun, but this fertile mother ducker must have had about 100 baby spiders too, running all over my head and face. I did a very fast spider removal dance. Accidentally letting out a fart while sneezing in a quiet room full of people. This is now a new fear of mine. People who take like a whole 10 seconds to actually fall over, drunk or on icy surfaces. They try so hard to right themselves but always come crashing down. Telling embarrassing things while being drunk. Bonus points if you don't remember anything you said the next day. And then they slowly come back to you and agonizing drips throughout the day until you're curled up in a permanent cringe at the sheer awfulness. And then a week later, when you open a beer to relax, you start to think about the embarrassing stuff again. And then you're sitting there with a bottle of shame in your hands. And then decades later you'll be driving down the road and it will all suddenly come back to you again and your face scrunches because of the cringe. Accidentally saying I love you and leaving a co-worker due to habit. I do this to the chef at the restaurant where I work all the time. I just follow it up with bro and he usually says I love you too. Beach. My friend at work ends all his walkie transmissions with love you. The boss hates it but he's a volunteer technically and they're too stingy to get rid of him, haha. I got a call from my first sergeant once while doing medical coverage at a crew-served weapons range. Definitely said I love you as I was about to hang up. What I didn't know was that he was using me as an example of a soldier ready to be promoted to sergeant in a NCOPD. Non-commissioned officer professional development briefing. I was on speaker to every NCO in my unit, and the sergeant major who had stopped in to offer some guidance. I went from being Doc to being Cupid. Falling into a koi pond. And being the one who stepped away to let it happen. Jim, you bastard. Judas. When a comedian roasts someone in the crowd. I was told I looked like the kind of guy who jerked off to restaurant menus. That's what you get for being overweight in the front row. I was told I looked like I just got out of prison. He asked me what my job was right after. I'm a full-time security guard. And then he died laughing on stage. Calling the judge your majesty. People do this. You generally refer to them as your honor but some get confused. Thank you your majesty. That's your honor to you. Of course. I swear it on my honor, your majesty, you son of a beach. The defendant is guilty, your grace. Watching someone almost trip then do the half jog to walk it off casually. I'll take it over a faster plant any day. Evidently I do trip quite often. I've mastered the art of trip jogging. Chasing after a paper blowing on the ground. Grab, miss, stomp. Or somehow once you've caught up to it, it's now become one with the pavement and you can't get an edge up to pick it up. When someone's trousers split. I'm currently prepping for a colonoscopy, so my girlfriend would answer prepping for a colonoscopy. I do not agree with her at this time. Update. Everything went well. I'm back home and contemplating ordering a pizza. Girlfriend is still laughing at me. When kids mistakenly embrace a stranger thinking it's their parent. As a child this is terrifying. As an adult it's adorable and hilarious. My sister did this once when we were standing in line for something. I don't remember what, and the lady in front of us in line was wearing the same color maxi dress as my mom. My sister didn't just mistakenly hug the lady stranger's legs. Oh no, my sister went under the lady stranger's dress and wrapped her arms around her bare legs. The lady stranger's horrified face made me laugh so hard while my unknowing sister just stands there, a lump underneath this person's dress, thinking she's hiding in our mom's skirt. My girlfriend got soaked when a car drove through a puddle on the way to work this morning. It was hilarious. I laughed and laughed. Then she made a joke about how at least someone made her wet. Then I cried on the inside a little. That's what you get for trying to laugh at the expense of someone who knows precisely where to stab. It's not your fault. That's a weird fetish. Unintentionally insulting someone. The other day I was complaining about someone I don't like. Friend. Oh. It turns out I'm related to her. Her dad is an a-hole too. Me. So it runs in the family. Cringo. I wasn't referring to you. Or insulting someone who happens to be just out of view. Failing at parallel parking with a crowd of onlookers. 4 feet from curb. Close enough. Once in DC, I saw a guy try to parallel park a Hummer in a spot that was obviously too small for like 10 minutes before he finally gave up. Was hilarious. My knee dislocated in a public toilet yesterday and I was sitting on the floor with my ass out on the cold tile floor and about 15 people around me while waiting for an ambulance. I bet it was funny as duck to them. Hahaha. I know the pain. Mine does it randomly sometimes. And it's awful. I'm sorry for your experience. Someone brought in some frozen peas. Dropped them. And the security guard said, "Oh no. You peed all over the bathroom floor." It was horrible. But the people around me not panicking certainly helped. Got any tips for sleeping on the leg? Having your leg humped enthusiastically from a dog. Yet to see a dog unenthusiastic about a good old leg hump. Not once. Mine does. He's neutered so there's no actual sex drive. But he has a select few people, 2 of my friends, whose leg he will mount just randomly if they are sitting. It's the most half-ass hump. Basically just the mount, a sullen look, a bit of a thrust and then it's over. Smugly and confidently shouting the wrong answer in class. When someone, a girl especially, accidentally rips a gargantuan fart in the middle of a lecture, the lecturer just stopped mid-sentence with a sort of horrified but also impressed look before he continued. I went red for her. Especially if your seats are metal and there is a metallic ring that makes the fart reverberate. Sounds like thunder in an old Timmy radio drama. Someone getting pestered by a wasp to the extent that they run away, flapping their arms at the tiny yellow and black bringer of doom. Driving forward a few feet just as a friend is about to try and open the car door. I have almost pissed my pants laughing at others' frustrations and considered murder as an option while being the victim. And then when you do finally stay still long enough for them to actually try to get in, locking the door. Whenever some famous person doesn't ask me anything and gets downvoted to oblivion. Getting chased by geese or farm animals. Falling slipping on ice. Especially when it's a long and drawn out fall when they almost keep their balance multiple times. Being stuck in a conversation you don't want to be having. Getting licked all over by an overly needy dog. Someone getting scared. I scared the shit out of my so when I got home from work a few months ago. Saw the TV on when I was heading up the stairs so I figured he was still up. I heard him turning the TV off right when I was at the top of the stairs so it was dark in our bedroom. I jumped through the doorway and yelled, "Boo," in my high-pitched little girl voice. He shrieked at the top of his lungs. Like I could hear genuine fear in his voice. I really didn't expect him to get that scared. He said he was falling asleep as I got home and that's why he didn't hear me when I opened the garage door and bounded up the stairs. I can't help but laugh every time I think about it. Like a full-on deep belly laugh. But I swear if he ever did that to me I'd be pissed for weeks. When someone desperately, utterly, totally needs a shit. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.